So welcome. Before we get started, I just want to quickly, before I forget, as I sometimes do, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're all sitting in our different places around this country. I'm in Brisbane and it's the Turrbal people who are the traditional owners of this land. And I just want to honour that this is country to them and just show respect to their elders, past, present and emerging into the future. So as Felicity said, yes, I'm a psychologist. I work in a public health clinic in my part-time role, and then I do some part-time practice as well. And the focus of my practice is about supporting people who are living with chronic or ongoing health conditions, and working with people in that ongoing role of adjusting to those, to changes in health, to changes in independence, and changes that happen in life. So that's the work I really like doing. So I often use this slide when I'm doing presentations. It's one of my favourites because it seems to fit with nearly everything that I have an opportunity to talk about. And it really is a sense that no matter what we're talking about, whatever situation we're in, wherever we're in life, that life really is a balance of holding on and a balance of letting go. And that's the art, which, you know, we're all on our journey through life doing our best to work out what to hold on to, what's worth keeping and what's worth letting go of. So I just like to start with that. Okay. Yeah. I'm just moving me a little. In fact, excuse me for a second, I'm just going to move me completely. All right, so what we know, and this is about when we get, I'm just going to talk through these things fairly quickly. And Felicity, I'm probably quite happy for us to make a version of a PDF version of the PowerPoint available to people too afterwards, which might be more useful.
Yeah, fantastic, thanks.
Yeah, I think that I'll have to just double check it, but I think that will be fine. So what we want to just talk about is there's a period of adjustment, as we know, following any diagnosis of any sort of chronic illness or any illness. And there are lots of things that people experience, and the reality is all of them are normal. And along here, you see beyond blue, they refer to like feelings of shock and anger and grief and loss. All of these things are really common. And we know, depending on what sort of condition we're talking about, that in the immediacy, often these feelings pass with time. But the reality is that if we can't sit with them safely enough, then we also know that there's an ongoing stress and that people living with a chronic health condition can be at a higher risk of developing depression and anxiety. So it's really important that people, that we think about where we're at and we work out some strategies to look after ourselves. I'm going to have to keep moving me around, I apologise. We also know that there is ongoing adjustment. So I'm sure all of you know, and the thing I didn't say before, and now's the time for me to say it, that I come as a psychologist with some knowledge, skills and experience, but you come as the experts on you and experts on your journey, and you are the experts on what it is to live with a chronic illness and the ongoing issues of adjustment with that. Okay, so I'm coming to talk to the experts today, and hopefully just bringing some information that will be helpful. What's really important is that we really highlight that those challenges to mood, to depression and anxiety can be really high risks for people living with chronic health illness. We also know that it impacts on everyone, as you know, the whole family and even the whole network of people. And we also know it's very individual. So there's nothing that's right and nothing that's wrong. It's very much a shared experience when we talk to different people who have experienced the onset of a chronic illness, but we also know that each person has some unique experiences that are unique to them. And just the other thing, because I think this is about giving us permission for acknowledging the significance of an impact of a chronic illness, is that it can pervade every aspect of our lives and has a profound impact. and that there's lots of different life disruptions and changes. So again, I know that in sharing this information, I'm sharing this information with you who knows this, but the goal of sharing it is for you to know that there's permission for that. And probably the most powerful part of this quote is that last line. So chronic illness is often erratic and unpredictable, and the way we respond to it often requires constant readjustment. And that's the art, is just every step of the way working out what works now, next step along the way, what works now, and coming up with some things that are useful. Because we know this slide is just a little bit of a picture of all the things. I mean, this is like life in general. And then when you throw in a chronic illness diagnosis, this is just sort of like magnified, okay? And I find this really tricky because I'm not really seeing many of your faces. So I hope this is working. And if it's not, send some things through the chat so that I can change it, okay? All right, here is a picture of a glass. Now, we've all heard the story, haven't we, of the, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? So my take on the glass with water halfway up is a bit different, okay? We can talk about half empty and half full, and that's quite meaningful. But what I sort of think is, if I'm sitting here holding onto a glass that's half full of water, even if it's half full, in the more optimistic way, if I'm holding onto that glass the whole time, my arm will just, within probably 30 minutes, my arm will be locked up with cramp and pain, okay? Because I'm still holding onto my half full glass. And really what we need to do, most importantly, perspective is really powerful, and I encourage perspective. But what we really have to do is find out some ways to, how do we put the glass down? How do we give ourselves time away or time out from whatever it is we're experiencing, or even whatever stage of our experience we're in, or whatever we're adjusting to? How do we give ourselves time out, or how do we look after ourselves while we're in that process? So that to me is what's most important.